Hey everyone, Gaijin Goomba here, and goodbye 2017! I think it's safe to say that not a lot of people really enjoyed this year, myself included. But looking back on the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of good come out in terms of gaming. In fact, dare I say, 2017 has been one of the best years in gaming, period. Nintendo Switch has been knocking out of the park with Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, ARMS, Mario & Rabbids, with a great selection of third-party games like Skyrim and Doom. PlayStation has had some fantastic games come out this year as well, with Persona 5, Nier Automata, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Yakuza 0, Horizon Zero Dawn, and one of my personal favorites, Nioh. And indies? You can just get out of here. Freaking Bendy and the Ink Machine, Hello Neighbor, Cuphead. But one of the biggest highlights of the gaming year came for me in December, when we were graced with the recreation of one of my favorite games of all time, Okami. This game not only takes me back as a gamer, but also as a content producer. There's a very good reason why so many of my earliest videos revolved around this game, and it's not just because I'm a horrible weeb with an obsession based in ancient Japanese mythos. It's the presentation that literally makes all the difference in the world to me. And if 2017 has taught us anything about gaming this year, it's that artistic execution of visual style is absolutely a major force when it comes to creating, selling, and enjoying a game. Bendy showed us that. Cuphead showed us that. And now, Okami reminds me of it as well. But Okami does something with its distinct visual style that I rarely see games really touch on. Whereas most games with a unique aesthetic builds their worlds and characters around it, Okami actually builds its gameplay around it. For those of you who have never played it, Okami has a unique mechanic within its gameplay, where after freeing various brush gods along your journey, you're given the power to manifest all manner of creations to aid you on your quest. Whether it be restoring broken items, blossoming plants, summoning vines, creating firework bombs, or even something as simple as creating wind or slicing an enemy. In Okami, your brush literally brings the world to life with every precision stroke you take, and lordy, speaking of precision, this game can get really finicky about making sure your strokes are perfect when it comes to your creations. Given enough time though, and regular combat integrated with precise brush strokes quickly becomes second nature in this game. And you know, in all of the videos I've done all of these years ago, I've always looked at the individual characters of Okami. Amaterasu, Isun, Sakuya, but the delicate art style in which they're all portrayed in is something that I've always neglected. Until today. Because I've learned that Okami's beautiful design and brush mechanic gameplay weren't simply taken from some random specific period art style, but were inspired by, well, a near religion if you can believe it. The thick lines and soft colors of Okami comes from an ancient painting style known as sumie in Japan, but better known in its birthplace of China as Shi Mo Hua. While both these names simply mean ink painting, don't let that simplicity fool you, because behind it is an artistic spiritual philosophy that Okami has effortlessly been able to replicate. Like Okami, sumie is an art style that doesn't so much focus on photorealism of a scene or a landscape, but rather is an interpretation of one. However, unlike many artists who will sit in a silent lake or a rolling green field and paint or draw for hours on end, the sumie artist rarely creates outside their home, and even more rarely creates what they see. For in sumie, you don't replicate what you see visually, but rather harness the chi or ki of nature and illustrate the energy that each plant, stone, or animal has within them. For almost 2,000 years now, Buddhist and Taoist practitioners alike would incorporate sumie in their activities of self-reflection, humility, and harmonizing with nature and the universe. Each painting, humble in its design, was a way of the creator to not only grasp the understanding of the energies of nature, but use that understanding to recreate those energies in their works. I know we're starting to hit Jedi levels of philosophy here, but to these practitioners, sumie painting was more than just creating something beautiful. It was seeking harmony and understanding within the universe, understanding and capturing the energies of natural existence within their art, and replicating those energies into their painting. As an example, capturing the temperament of an animal is far more important than perfecting its muscle structure, because you weren't simply recreating what you saw, but rather bringing its very existence to life through your brushstrokes. Isn't that exactly what you do in Okami? With maybe one or two exceptions, everything you paint, from the trees to the grass to the elements like wind, fire, water, rain, or even the sun itself, you are actually creating all of these aspects of nature. And that's what sumie painting was all about. Just as the Buddhist monk would recreate the essence of the nature they were bringing to life in their painting, the player and Amaterasu create all manner of natural elements through their own brushstrokes. But you know, when you go back and look at the comparison between what you paint in Okami versus what the great sumie artist painted hundreds if not thousands of years ago, it's easy to see a disconnect, right? I mean, a sumie artist creates a water lily by painting a water lily, not just drawing a circle like an Okami. Well, remember, for the sumie artist, the art isn't about creating photorealism of nature, but rather capturing its essence in the brush. And sometimes, all it takes is just a few small strokes. So check this out. Unlike most of the languages of the world, Chinese and by extension Japanese is not phonetic, but symbolic. For example, the word for tree or ki, well, it looks like a tree. Fire or he looks like fire. Kawa or river looks like a river. In other cases, some characters are built from what are known as radicals, which are individual smaller characters that by themselves could have one meaning, but coming together could have many. For example, the kanji ki alone means tree, but put two of those together and it becomes hayashi or forest. And then if you get three of these things together, you get mori or woods. And this doesn't have to be individual radicals put together either. For example, love or I is literally hand covering heart that's delayed. Yeah, I'd say that sums up love pretty well. But my point is, when it comes to the philosophical aspects of sumie, when you practice calligraphy, you weren't writing the character, you were painting it. When you write Yama, you're not simply writing a word for mountain, but rather recreating its essence in 3 simple strokes. And again, isn't using simple symbolic strokes to create elements of nature exactly what you do in Okami? To create the sun, you make a single circular stroke in the sky, but to create a deluge rainstorm, you draw 2 downward falling lines instead. And finally, to create a blizzard, you draw a simple snowflake. This is not so unlike how, quote, painting characters in Chinese or Japanese captures the essence and meaning of nature within a few swipes of the brush. But I tell you what, simple or not, like I mentioned before, there's been far more than a few times in this game where I thought I painted what I needed to create the desired effect, but sometimes those trees just don't want to blossom, or sometimes those vines just don't want to connect with the Spider Queen's booty. But accidental or not, this sometimes insane level of painting precision also encapsulates the essence of sumie painting as well. For you see, to be a sumie master like no one ever was, it takes years upon years upon years of study to master brush techniques. In fact, there was one book specifically artists used as the backbone to learning and replicating the styles and strokes of all the great masters. A 300-year-old manual still used to this day called the Mustard Seed Garden. Apparently, students would have to recreate stroke for stroke the paintings of the old masters before they were ready to create their own pieces. That makes sense though. Seriously, sit down with a calligraphy brush and a piece of washi paper and try to paint something. It ain't easy. But I think in a weird sort of zen way, that's kind of the point of Okami. In the very beginning, you're given 2 or 3 key strokes, like Power Slash, Bloom, and Sunrise. Most of the time you forget that you have them, or the game flat out tells you have to use them, only to get frustrated how precise you have to be in order to activate the brush technique. But in time, they become second nature not only in combat, but in the world itself. By the end, you have almost 20 different strokes to work with, and each of them feels as core and familiar to the gameplay as jumping or comboing. And I think that's where the magic of Okami really lies and what makes it so memorable. Just like the sumie art practice it's based on, it's a very pure and almost spiritual experience. With a few strokes of the brush, you breathe green and life into the game. Every single time I bloomed another guardian tree and watched that rush of color and nature flowing back into the gray, featureless landscape, I got chills every single time. Sure, it's not high poly textures in a 4K resolution, but for gamers that didn't matter because the style precisely captures the feel of what we're seeing. Grass, trees, animals, and people. Even in combat, the artistic style lends itself to represent in color and shapes the conflict rather than high definition movement or action. It's just a fascinating example of art melding with game and the beautiful experience such a combination can create. But thanks for watching, everyone! If you're feeling brave, those old Okami videos are still up for your viewing pleasure, or you could come by my Twitch and hang out with me and Aki during our long play of the game. But if you're looking for something a bit more professional, I've recently done a video breaking down the cultural origins of Breath of the Wild's final DLC, The Champion's Ballad, over on my channel, further showing me that even the smallest of things in games can have big, real-world inspirations. But never neglect the beauty of science, which both Matt and Austin still show off in their amazing videos, which you definitely should check out. But until next time, everyone,